beep, beep. What is up, ninjas? My name is Sam World, and welcome to the channel. Sample the intro, put it in your tech house track, call it a day. Now today, guys, I am going to be teaching you guys how to make tech house brass stabs like Chris Lake uses in this project Anti-Up in his track Stay With Me. Claude VonStroke has a recent track, Getting Hot, that utilizes a variation of this brass stab that we're going to be creating inside of Serum, because again, it has to be a synth to be in a tech house track. Now, quick disclaimer, guys, the sounds are going to sound close enough to the tracks that I am stating here, like the Hey Pablo song, to Stay With Me, the Claude VonStroke Getting Hot in here sounds. At the end of the day, you don't want to sound exactly like these guys, so I see that as a good thing. Take it how you fucking want, or leave a comment down below that I suck. But the sounds are 80 to 90% identical. My goal with this tutorial, again, is to teach you guys the process of creating these sounds so that you can make your own variation of it, which is what you eventually want to do. You know, you just don't want to rip off the whole tutorial and then use a sound that's super similar to theirs. With that being said, guys, if you want to support my channel, make sure to head over to evilsounds.com. That's where you can find all my sound design work, and I will be releasing a new tech house pack this July 25th. Mark down the fucking calendar. Support your boy, guys, because you guys allow me to do this. But with that being said, let's get started. Now, here I have the MIDI we're going to be using for the first part of the tutorial. It's going to be the Hey Pablo melody, which again, if you see that, it looks like a newbie producer came in and just said fuck it and said screw music theory. Now, the Anti-Up sound that they have is very like out of key, but that's the point of it, I believe. Very acidy style sounds. The melody's gonna go like, okay, essentially this is in the G minor scale, but it's getting out of key. I don't know if there's a scale for this, you know, maybe called, I just started producing last month, but pretty much you guys can see that's the vibe we get. Usually in G house and tech house, we like to go up a semitone from the root key, which is not part of the minor scale. But that allows us to get a badass vibe. In essence here, this is the progression we're going to be using. For his track, Stay With Me, we're going to be using another MIDI, which is just going to be something like that. That one's going to have a slight variation on what we're creating, and it's also going to be programmed a bit differently, but the theory, the practice is still the same. So now we're going to go inside of Serum, guys. Now, when creating your brass stab and creating your variations to this, you're always going to do one thing the same, and that is you're always going to have a slight attack to it. Now, I personally like to shape the sound with the LFO. It's a lot easier and it's a lot faster. It's also easier for newbies to grasp the way the sound will come out when they move this fucker around. So we're going to put this around here. Apologize my cussing. We're going to put this here. Not on the level, but we're going to pretty much use a filter, and we're going to shape the sound by lowering the cutoff. That way, when I press play, nothing's coming out. Now, between this, you're going to be choosing between your MG Low 12, MG Low 6 to a 24 filter. Now, the lower the number, the more highs are allowed out. So if you look at the 6, you can kind of hear a bit of sound. However, the higher we go, that sound becomes non-existent as the filter is not letting those highs out. And as we move to the right a bit, you can see the lower we go, the more highs are allowed out. So my best advice to you is going to be that if you want to create a brass stab with still a little bit of highs in there, go with a low 12, low 18 filter. If you want to be super strict and you want to create a warmer sound that doesn't have a lot of highs, go with an MG Low 24. Okay, so I'm going to go with the 18. We'll meet it halfway right there, and that's the best H, if you know what I mean. So we're going to be putting that here, and then we're just going to shape the sound. So right now, when we do that, it's going to sound... Okay, it's a little bit weird, and that's because we have to select the envelope mode. Envelope mode is going to make it so that Serum uses the LFO as an envelope. So it goes once, and that's it. However, every time you hit a new note, it's also going to start from the beginning. Okay, pretty straightforward so far. Now, a lot of the brass stab sounds you're going to use, guys, you don't have to detune. Some of them you can go with just standard normal soft. I mean, that's an okay one. However, the one we're creating, we're going to actually go with about 7, 8 voices of unison. That means 8 saws are coming out of Serum in each oscillator. And we're going to detune. The reason we're detuning is if you hear the sound that Chris Lake uses in this track, it has a really harsh kind of attack to it, and it also sounds wide. So that tells me instantly that this is what we need to do. And kind of get it there. Now, from here, after we routed the LFO 1 to the cutoff, we get to choose how high up it goes. So if I go all the way up, you get that sound. lower. So it's up to you to decide where you want it. You go too high up, you're kind of killing the vibe of the brass stab. However, if you go too low, then you're starting to sound like AC Slater, Night Bass, and that's not what we're about right now. So maybe in the future, by the way. We're gonna set it around here. With that done, we're gonna add a bit of OTT. Now the reason for the OTT is that whenever you want to go for a super compressed sound, you cannot go wrong with the OTT. However, there are a few things you need to protect yourself from. The OTT is known to give you this STD called too much fucking high frequencies, okay? Look it up. So in essence, when you add this, sometimes you're gonna get this super screechy high end to it, so you gotta tame that. And the way you tame that is by using your downwards compressor here, and that's gonna be the green bar moving this way to kind of get that low. Okay, once we have that, we're gonna be adding a bit of reverb to this. Okay, and the reverb is very important. A lot of people make the mistake of just leaving the reverb as is, or most people don't even know what half these knobs do. Best thing I could say, size of the room, decay, the amount, how long that reverb is gonna last. Obviously, we don't want like a trancy ass reverb, 12 decay. Just a very simple one. Now the low cut is very important here. This is gonna determine, okay, what low frequencies are gonna go inside the reverb to produce reverb, sort of like, you know, having a baby. So we don't want a low baby. We want like in the mid frequency, mid high frequency baby. Okay, so pay attention to that kind of stuff. Now the next thing we have here is the spin and spin def, which I'm not going to use. The spin and spin def, you're going to hear it more on sounds that aren't detuned. Since this sound is heavily detuned, you got a lot of movement already, you're not going to see the spin and spin def do that much. It's not going to influence the sound that much. However, when you have a single sound, you can definitely hear it. And essentially what it is, it's a chorus being applied to the reverb. You can create more of a lush reverb this way. However, once we have that, we're just going to EQ out our lows and just get the sound louder. Now it's very important to do this low cut, and you want to be super precise with it. The main reason is that if you do have a bass like Chris Lake does in this track, you don't want it to fight with it, especially. That sounds super big, so we're just gonna move this back. From there, we can decide to boost if you feel it's needed. But that's essentially going to be the sound. There might be more to it, but that's as close as I got to it. But I think it's a good place to be at and to know up to that point. We don't have to get super precise with recreating sound sometimes, because you'll just spend the whole day trying to figure out what damn plugin he used or what preset or what distortion. Distortion plays a huge role as well, so we can also add that if you feel like it's needed. However, I personally do not think it's needed, but you can definitely add it in after the OTT. And that's gonna give you more of a sound. It's a little bit more dirty, and if that's what you want, that's totally fine. You don't have to be super clean with these sounds, especially when you're making dirty music that people are gonna get my drift. With that being said, that is the first sound, guys. Now, in essence, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to ease up on this a bit. So I'm going to get rid of the OTT and the distortion. However, I'm going to leave the reverb and the EQ on. The next variation we have from Chris Lake is going to be the Stay With Me one, which is... So the song is in G sharp. I had to look it up because I thought it was in G. However, if we play that with this variation, it's going to sound like this. It's still going to be the same format. You know, we're hitting that note up a semitone. And then we're just hitting the next note in the scale. So we're making this sound really fast, guys. We're just going to do the same thing we did. We're going to use a filter to just shape the sound, decide how much it's going to go. We're going to give it more of a rounded vibe, like I said, and we're just going to do this. So let's just shape it as best as we can really fast. Bit of mono legato always, which is always going to apply that that slide to it. Okay, from there we're gonna put 2 saws here. Now let's go with detunement as well, but not too harsh, just a slight bit. And we're just gonna add that +7 here and maybe put it up an octave or leave it there. And you can already see we're starting to get the shape of that sound. So let's just add a bit of reverb just for fun. And you can mess around with different variations of that, like put it up an octave, which sounds a bit corny. I always feel like when a sound needs to be played at a certain octave, if you play it up in like an octave where it needs to be, it sounds too corny. But here you can kind of start to just fine tune the sound and get it to where it needs to be. You can definitely experiment with using maybe a square instead, but it gives you a totally different vibe, as you can see. So it's definitely sauce whenever you want to do brass style of sounds, guys. Now, the last sound, guys, we're going to do the exact same thing. However, here we're just going to go with maybe a shorter cut instead of going a longer one. And we're just going to get envelope on. Something like so. We can add a bit of detunement as well to that. Maybe a little bit more. And then we can just get that +7 in there. And you get this really nice kind of +7 brass hit to it. Let's go with 24. Let's get rid of the lows. You always have to do. You can also go +1 on both of these and then add a bit of detunement manually. That gives you a different result, and this is more of an analog way. We're going to put the arm phases down. And you get this sort of kind of nice, like kind of ravey kind of sound to it. You can do a lot as well. And remember, the tuba is a very gradual change to it, but you can also apply it to other parameters like your detunement. To just get really cool kind of sounds out of it here. Maybe we could. And that's more of a different variation to the brass staff, guys. But in essence, that is what I wanted to show you guys today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. I hope it shines some light on it. I got this tutorial heavily requested. Someone wanted it, and it got a couple of likes, like 10, I think. So there you go, guys. That's how you do it. Again, if you want to support my channel, best way to do it, evilsounds.com, guys. And I'll catch you guys next time. You guys take care, and you guys have a nice day. Save the date, July 25, Deception, Soundbank, Sample Pack 30, Chicken Volume 2. Best Tech House pack hopefully out there. It's going to be my biggest release this year. And it's going to contain everything you need to make proper Chris Lake, Claude VonStroke, Dirty Chicken, Black Book, Tech House. Peace out, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.